At the back, I hope. Check 1, 2. We're back. Fantastic. So let's, firstly, thanks. Great presentations, everyone. Really, really interesting. Quite a diverse range of presentations as well, which is always great. Any questions in the audience before I give the mic to Harry Parnell? Yep, you've got a question? There we go. Always great to kick things off. How are you, Harry? Okay?
Not bad, Rhys.
Good, good.
Harry Parnell, Balfour BT UK. Where does model methods of construction start and BIM stops? Or is it blended?
I like that question, but I'm not going to try and answer that. I think I'll hand over to anyone want to take that.
It's quite a good question. It's quite a tricky question. So in our heads, they're completely interlinked. I think one of the reasons that we're seeing a sort of massive upswing in interest in MMC and industrialised construction is because BIM's become a thing. So I think it's like a foundational thing. We couldn't start properly developing some of these systems at scale until everyone had a kind of level digital playing field. And I think we've spoken about this before. One of the things we always talk about is if you've put the effort into coordinating a model, generating that sort of, all the kind of clash detection things, doing all of that work up front, to then turn it into thousands of drawings that you give to individual people on site to hit things with the hammer, you go, that seems like a bit of a backward step. So I think there's a natural thing where people go, now I've divided up, I've designed the building, I've put all the effort into coordinating it, you can start to see sort of natural bits where you might split it into systems and start to prefabricate. So I think BIM's definitely an enabler of MMC. Just as a side note, I personally dislike the term MMC because it should have a statute of limitations. At a certain point you go, that's just C now. Precast, that's not modern anymore. We've been doing that for decades. So I don't like MMC because it becomes a sort of catch-all term. We prefer design for manufacture and assembly because it's the process. If you want to manufacture and assemble, you design in a particular way. But in my head, they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I think that's... any other responses to that question? Any other questions in the audience? Or yep, one at the front here.
Hello, it's Ahmed from TU Dublin University. So I would like to ask Mahmoud, please. He insisted that reality capture is different from digital twin. Can you explain these differences, please?
Yeah, sure. So I've referenced also some of my images and definition of digital twin from an article that was recently published on LinkedIn, actually, where someone is saying reality capture is not digital twins. So reality capture is giving you a digital replica, right? So it's just geometry. It has no information until you put information into it and actually connect it seamlessly, then that's a digital twin, right? So there's a big difference. We're just giving geometry and the digital representation. So adding the information makes a big difference and goes a long way to have a digital twin. So there's different methods, but it comes from the client mainly. So if you have an existing project, is what we work with usually. For example, if there's a project that's existing and they want to digitize it and make a digital twin of it, we can scan it, but we need the information from the client himself. So all the O&M manuals, the specifications, the warranties, we need that information to input it into the software. So as an example, with our partner AESG, they would take care of that data, but the data should come from the client himself. And the client should have all that data, logically, but oftentimes they're lost, right? So that's the challenge of the client and how he can get that data.
Perfect, thank you. That's one of my questions, actually, is we've heard that magic term now, digital twin, and I think there's mixed emotion about what that means and if we're there yet. And I think my thought is really it depends on what the client wants, right? So in terms of the application, you touched on it a little bit, Mahmoud, digital twin, are we there yet?
I think we are there. There's, I forgot the name, but there's a project in the UK that's been done and digitized with the digital twin platform. It's really amazing. I'll share it later if yeah, but there are some projects that were able to reach that target, but we're not there yet in terms of having it out there for everyone. So it needs time.
Absolutely. And I think, Jaimie, you talked a little bit about the manufacturing sector. Are there, and this is an open question to anybody on the panel, are there any other industries you think the construction industries could look at and learn from? Anyone? Yep, so we'll pass them. Maybe a response from everybody on that one. So
there's bound to be. I mean, we've started looking at, obviously, automotive, aerospace. People talk about. I think shipbuilding industry is one that we don't spend enough time, but they build things the size of buildings that go off on their own. So, they have to deal with power generation, sanitary stuff. So I think there's a load of parallel industries like that we could probably learn from, and I suspect they do. They're sort of halfway between aerospace probably and construction because it's more building-like, but they've been using digital tools and manufacturing for decades. So there's loads of things like that. One of the things we're quite interested in, we haven't done this yet, but you can see from some of the repeatability of the MEP systems, for instance, for things like healthcare, my strong suspicion is automotive supply chain could make some of those bits. They go, it's pipes and wires, right? I can do that. So one thing I'm interested to see is whether we can start to share supply chains with those industries. We couldn't ever because construction was so chaotic, but you can see where we're heading. If you started to get that stability and repeatability, it's the sort of conditions where we might create a space where we could start to share supply chains, and I think that will then massively accelerate this way of working.
Great stuff. Ivana, Peter, any thoughts on that? Other industries we could look to, learn from?
Well, I was just
Hopefully inspire as well, by the way. So
we recently did an exercise because we had requirement on one job to try to do all the electrical containment prefab. So as Jaimie said, the repeatability it just didn't work because we had almost 60 different types of containment segments and maybe just 2 or 3 pieces of each of them. So if you would look at the cost, it would be way much bigger than we would do it ourselves. So it's not working everywhere, but it would be definitely easier for all of us if we could have that modular construction in place. But there are a lot of industries, like Jaimie said, that we could take a look at it. But in some things, it's still not working because we're working with really tight space and a lot of things are different. So it's hard to make things modular in buildings that we are getting to work with.
absolutely. Yeah, Peter, maybe the same question to you with a slightly different spin. So rather than other industries, what about countries? We've got quite a diverse panel today, which is great. So are Denmark looking at other countries, or are other countries looking at Denmark in terms of your digitization process and how construction is working?
I would start with the industry and then I will come with the countries.
Okay.
Actually, I think we should look upon the car industry not as an industry, but actually their way of handling the world where they exist. They have been capable within the last year of giving us as customers the opportunity to configure our car in a way so it's actually at the same quality as their standard product. They have been capable as an industry to start a transition with focus on energy in a way where they actually are changing the plane in the air. They are actually doing the whole development within the production. I think they have had, that industry has had some approaches that we could look upon and we might be inspired from. Looking upon the countries, I think the largest mistake we can make as a national industry, it is to think that we are at first on an island and we have the perfect solution, because actually the industry now is global. We might not think what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not without reason that China would like prefabricated buildings to be a global standard. There's some business logic behind that. And when it's about the digital practice, we can learn from each other. I'm, at this moment, so impressed of what they're doing in Italy. In Italy, they have big time made a major shift. 2013, the government supports it, the education system supports it, the software industry supports it, the client supports it. So right now in Italy, they can do things that we can't find at that amount anywhere else at the moment in Europe.
Got it. So, BIM Coordinators Summit 2023 maybe in Tel Aviv. Huh? Why not? So, perfect. And then I've just listening to everybody speak today and looking at some of the stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn, you know, all of this relates back down to the end client. They're paying for all of this for the best product that they can get, whether it's a vertical or horizontal asset. How can we? I mean, from my experience with speaking with clients, there's a lot that are very, very educated about the processes, but there's still a gap, I think, with those that aren't as educated. So how do we help our clients better understand the associated benefits? And I'm going to quote one of Nigel's tweets, actually, Nigel Davis. So clients know what they want, but they don't know how to ask for it from the client stage. So what can we do as an industry to sort of make that change? So I'll come back to you.
Okay. I mean, we've tried for years actually to introduce clients to each other. So we used to do events where we'd get sort of GlaxoSmithKline, who are quite far on this journey, to meet other clients. So we found that those sorts of events where often we didn't even go, we would sort of get them talking to each other. That's been enormously powerful for them to learn from each other and see what's possible. It's definitely, all of the stuff we've done has been driven by clients. So it's typically serial clients, repeat clients, dissatisfied with construction, who want to shift the needle. And we spoke briefly about this earlier. A lot of the big clients now are, the Amazons, the Googles, the big data center players. There's some massive clients with massive programs who are insisting on this way of working. And I think it's inevitable that when other clients see those benefits, it's going to start to trickle down. So I think we're seeing now a massive upswing in clients' knowledge, education, expectation, and ability to control things now. So I think that is going to fundamentally shift us in the next couple of years. But
I'll just add a small thing, is that we can educate our clients along the way, of course. And as he said, they're seeing the change. They're seeing other clients, moving away from toxic environments and toxic methods of construction. And thus, with time, they're going to shift as well. It's going to be inevitable, right? And government also plays a big role in that. When they mandate something, then people have to follow it as well.
Yeah, sorry. I have another approach. Actually, I think I didn't do my job good. I should listen to them more. I should actually more than listen. I should use more time trying to understand what they are saying and understand their business, and not trying to make them realize that what I have in my basket actually would save them, because I think it's our job to meet them. I think it's the only way we can make the journey in the right way. Sorry.
Absolutely. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would
Ivana?
just like to add that for our point of view, like M&E subcontractors, you usually don't have any contact with the client. So we really cannot know what they want. We know only the information that gets to us. So I think that in this structural organization, we cannot even do anything to improve their understanding.
You're right. And just as, I suppose, a final closing comment from me, I think one way we can do that is what we're doing today, sharing knowledge, best practices, what's worked, what's not worked, because there's a variety of people in the audience here. So for me, it's been fantastic listening to these presentations. It's been an honor. Try my best to moderate and hopping up and down this big stage with my little legs. Revista have been immensely proud to be part of this as well. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you to all of our guest speakers today for your amazing stories. And thanks to everyone online for watching. So we're right on time. So we'll wrap up there today's session, the first session of the construction stage. And I'll leave you all get on to enjoying the rest of the show. So thanks, everyone. And thanks, everyone online.